And good morning. Welcome to For the Record. Catherine Tyson. I'm sitting in for Art Connor this morning. Let me tell you, thank God it's Friday, and I'm late. What they call a day late and a dollar short. I tell you, this morning it is a beautiful Friday morning in the tropics, and my alarm clock kind of did a little number on me this morning. It just forgot about me, and when you're in Newlands, I tell you, life is just so good there. You don't want to come to town sometimes. But that commute this morning was amazing. We just came straight in, no traffic. I guess people are just on vacation or in vacation mode or something. So those of you that are on the roads this morning, good morning. And I know you're having a great morning commute. You're able to listen to the radio and not be frustrated with all the traffic. It is Christmas. Christmas is right around the corner. I was saying to somebody the other day, where did the 12 months go? It just flew by, and the children are just waiting now for Santa Claus to make his entrance on Saturday night or Sunday, right? So I need to try to get some gifts under my tree, at least so it can look all right. Maybe just wrap up some boxes or something. I have a tree. Finally, I put mine up the other day, so I was quite happy about that. But good morning, good morning, good morning. I want you to join me, of course, 1-800-534-8255. I want to hear your thoughts this morning, because that would be great to hear from you. For the record, this is the last show of the year. So today is it. This is our Christmas show, our New Year's show, because we don't come back until January 11th, apparently. Yes, that's the email that I got. So I'll check to make sure. But for the record, it's taking a break. It is exhausted too, apparently. Merry Christmas to Mr. Connor, wherever you are, and a Happy New Year when 2017 makes its grand debut. Okay, so this morning I am joined by a no stranger to the Cayman public. It was a little rough for the wear this morning. I dragged him in, but he had to come in. We got to talk about Christmas stuff. Got to talk about budgeting and talk about, what we can do for the holidays so that we're not in so much pain come January. Financial pain. That's Ralph Lewis. If you've ever heard of this guy, he is your financial guru. Morning, Ralph, and welcome.
Good morning, Catherine. Good morning. It's good to be here again.
It's great to see you. Great to catch up with you. And of course, Ralph is from the Cayman Times, the owner of the Cayman Times, and wow, Ralph, let's talk about the Cayman Times first, because I noticed that you grew up and you're a big boy now.
Yes, I'm finally a real newspaper, as they say. And it's great to be here. It's been a journey, but the journey is going steadily, and a lot of my readers love it.
Yes.
The bigger size, bigger print is a real newspaper, but still has the same good content that we want to keep.
Yeah, we're just looking forward to being able to find it everywhere now. Now I'm just looking, the distribution, 2017, I'm going to put that into the universe so that everywhere we turn, we can get a copy of the Cayman Times.
Yes, and a lot of my readers call and say, where's the paper? I said, unfortunately, it's like hot cakes. When I put them down, they get picked up. And of course, they're free, and so they move very fast. And, it's one of those things. And we're happy that, a lot of people are reading them. But we also have it available online at CaymanTimes.ky. You can download the entire paper. So many of my readers go there. But we're going to have increases in distribution in the new year.
Yeah, I like the feel of a newspaper, and I heard someone saying that the other day, that every morning he says, I get my coffee and I get my papers. So, I think you're 2 days,
Yes.
right? Is it Wednesday and Friday?
Friday for now,
So,
yes.
and I was talking to him on a Wednesday.
Yes.
And so he says, and I read all of the newspapers.
Yes.
And so before I even go to work, that is my ritual. I go and I get my cup of coffee from the gas station.
Right.
I get my newspapers and I read. And I was like, wow, okay. He says, yeah, that's what I do. I'm very informed. And that's he was telling me he was reading one of my articles. I was like,
Yes.
really? He says, yeah, I do that every Wednesday. I pick up my 3 papers. So a lot of people are reading, and it's good to just keep the Cayman public informed.
Yes.
of what's going on.
printed media is going to be here for a long, long time. It's just a different feel. I was talking about this just the other night, and you listen to the radio. It's recorded, yes, but after that session is gone, it's gone. You go to TV, and you may record that movie or that event, but unless you have a recorder there to play it back. With the paper, it's physical. You can walk around with it in your purse, in your car. You pick it up wherever you want, on the dining table, in your office. So the paper is a lot more handy if you want to keep reading something. I could take time to really go through the paragraphs over and over again and mark them up and say things. So, the printed media still has a place in the community.
I absolutely believe that. I believe that, just to my core, that we have to balance out all of these things, especially even technology. Technology is fine, yes. But the recall is right there. And I usually just cut stuff out, or I'll tear it out and to read later.
Yes.
So I do that kind of stuff a lot. Or if it's something that I'll save it and I'll have it, 10 years later, I still have that piece of news. And it's good. It's good to go back and go, oh my goodness, look at that, you know.
And leading to what we're going to talk about a little later, that the majority of readers are elderly. Over 30, 35, 40.
Right.
The majority of readers are the older folks. And of course,
are you calling over 40s elderly? Is that where we're going now?
Not really.
Is it that serious?
As you get older, your eyesight tends to go a little bit.
Right.
And you wear those glasses. So, you have to put on those glasses and read the print. But watching TV, the computer screen tends to kind of wear your sight down a bit. So it's easier for you to read a paper or book rather than watching the TV screen or the computer screen from time to time. So most of the readers actually those older folks.
Yeah, of course. And, like we were just saying, even though technology is there, it still has the benefits of it. And of course, you want people to let you know about things that's happening in the community as well. I think that, that's all a whole interactive process too, what's happening out there. What I'd love to see is a community calendar, like a regular community calendar. Yes. And because I do see it in some of the other newspapers, but I think it's something that we almost need, like a collective calendar for Cayman, because so many things are happening and a lot of people are saying they didn't know that was happening. I'll hear about things that I didn't hear, we've been advertising it. How, where, so we're too small to not know what's going on.
Yes, and I think it's something that we could look at in the future, centralized databases for certain things, because not everyone reads the same newspaper.
Right.
People have their choices and for different reasons. And so therefore you can miss something easily. And we were talking about advertising. Where do I advertise? I advertise on the radio, the TV, and in the newspapers or online. But I can miss something easily because I'm not tuned into that media source. And so therefore, such a calendar, like what's happening over Christmas, there should be a centralized database where you can tap into it and get all the information. And I think government is doing a good job at that at GIS, where they're disseminating information to all the media houses. So we do get a lot of material from time to time with those sort of information. But of course the private sector and the public, when they have events, they don't send it to all the papers, and so you get things are missing. But we'll do better at that next year.
That's good. I mean, and just being able to plan forward is what's excellent too. So we're on almost the cusp of a new year, the eve of a new year, about 8 days left.
Wow.
And 2017 is going to make its grand entrance, and ready or not, here it comes.
Yes.
So we'll chat a little bit more about some Christmas stuff and New Year stuff when we get back. We're talking to Ralph Lewis. Thank you for joining us. I'd like to just take a little break quickly, and we'll be back with more For the Record, so please stay tuned. And welcome back to For the Record. Catherine Tyson. I'm sitting in for Mr. Connor. And thank you if you've just joined us. I'm actually in the studio with Ralph Lewis of the Caymanian Times. And we were chatting about some of the growth of the Caymanian Times in the last few months, that you would have noticed that it's now an actual newspaper, he calls it. I thought it was a newspaper before. It just felt, it was more of a booklet. Now it's an actual newspaper, and it's just growing. And it's good to see local products just grow and be forces to be reckoned with. I call it that. And so 2017, new things are happening, and that's going to be really exciting as well. Some things coming up that I want to say. We will continue to chat with Ralph a little bit about the Christmas rush that's going on there, because he's my budgeting guru. I'd love to talk to him about that. But let's chat a little bit about some things that are coming up. So we have shopping for last-minute gifts at the Nature Store of the National Trust, and that is actually going to be happening today, and that is from 5:25 to 9 o'clock tonight. And they're helping to raise money toward preserving the environment, heritage, and culture of the Cayman Islands. The Nature Store features eco-friendly products made by local artisans and vendors, and it carries nature-themed activity, kits, and adventure toys for kids of all ages. Refreshments and appetizers will be served. So that'll be 5:25 this evening until 9. So if you are looking for some gifts, or just to look around, see what they have, go out to the Nature Store at the National Trust, and lots of things for the kids. So and to support your local artisans, which will be really, really good. Tonight there is that mistletoe all white Christmas lounge party in Cayman Bay, and who's who will be there. And I wanted to get out to that. Boy, I tell you, that sounds so exciting. And pictures are always so beautiful on Facebook, so you want to do that. And of course, tomorrow night, Christmas Eve. If you've not seen the lights yet, go and drive around and see the roundabouts, and the Crichton property lights are always beautiful. The Bodden's home on South Church Street. I even saw some in Savannah. I can't remember exactly what that one's. It's right after you pass Domino's on the right, where they always have the exciting Halloween things going on for the kids, and they have some beautiful lights too. So grab the kids, jump in the station wagon, minivan, and go and see those lights. It's a nice thing to do right before Christmas. And of course, Christmas Day, I'm sure everybody will be spending with family, friends. If you don't have anybody just yet, start saying hello to people today, and maybe you'll get a nice invite. I've invited a few people over to my house. Now I have to feed them. So I was just thinking yesterday, I have to have enough food, because generally what I end up doing is just getting 2 loaves of bread, and whatever meat is left, I say make a sandwich. Yes. And my family stays long enough to start eating my cereal and milk. I'm like, it's time to go, people. So beautiful time of year, though. Let's see. And on Boxing Day, dashing through the sand. So after you've eaten all of that good food, it is the work off the turkey and Christmas beef on Boxing Day, with the walk run along 7 Mile Beach starting at 7:30 a.m. It's 1.5 mile. It starts on the beach near the former Hemingway's restaurant and includes breakfast and raffle prizes. You can register online at caymanactive.com. So get your New Year fitness in gear. Exciting.
That's right.
What do you think, Ralph?
I'm all excited about Christmas. I must say, I've seen a lot of lights on the streets, and the kids and the parents walking across. And I remind the motorists slow down around those areas,
right?
Because very dangerous. A lot of kids are dashing in and out. But I'm very impressed with the lighting displays, especially at some of the roundabouts. They've sort of been improved over the years.
Yes, beautiful.
And it brings that Christmas touch. We don't have any snow on ice, and it's nice and warm. But the Christmas lights are there, and it's really nice.
Yeah, very nice. And it feels, even though it came fast, I thought it came fast this year. Yeah. It feels like Christmas. There is a Christmas feeling.
I love it.
Yeah.
My kids always said, Daddy, you're too cheap. And I said, well, because I don't put up Christmas lights.
Why not? You're too cheap. Is that what's happening?
I'm looking at my electricity bill.
Wow, that's true.
So what I normally say is, don't worry, we'll just walk down the road to the Crichtons and you can get your fill of Christmas lights, and don't worry, we'll still be able to pay the light bill next month. But you can still get it.
That is so funny. I've noticed that right now it's just me and one of my children at home now. One child, and my bills are just so different now. They're so much lower. It's not uncomfortable at all, you know. And I remember when my light bill used to be $600, $700, and now we're down, you know. And both of us, we can manage it so well, and it's just, you know. So I put on the light still. I say, okay, I'll give a couple bucks extra this year because you know it's always nice to see the lights.
Nice,
and
yes. We have a little Christmas tree inside, you know, not around the whole house, you know. That's what I'm talking about.
That's true. That's true.
I've seen some houses that really look nice.
Okay, Scrooge.
So it's just like you have a Christmas tree inside there with lights and everything. That's good.
So you have a Christmas tree inside?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I have some lights on the staircase going upstairs.
Okay.
So some little thing.
You give your contribution.
Yes. So it's fine. Just that you don't see it from outside. But
so there's Christmas in the house.
In the house.
That's good. That's good. And you're right. You can drive around and enjoy all of the lights around the, really nice. The island. Beautiful.
Beautiful.
And the weather has been amazing too. So it's that Christmas breeze that we talk about, but it's really nice.
Where's the rain? It's dry.
Thank goodness. I'm not happy about the rain. I am happy about that.
I don't know where the rain is.
Yeah,
I need a little water here. You know, it's.
I'm happy about that. I'm happy about. I don't like the wetness. So
no,
yeah.
But it's cool. It's getting cool at night.
Maybe because it's not so bad overseas. Because you know sometimes when they have bad weather, then we get that a lot. Especially Florida. We can always tell by Florida. Florida is really cold, and we know that we're gonna have to start wearing our sweaters and stuff. So it's quite interesting though. But you know. All right, so beautiful stuff happening during Christmas. You know that we're all in the rush. The roads are calm and good. Some people are traveling to do the shopping. Lots of, you know, stress right now about what am I going to buy? You know, who am I going to buy for? And then it turns into a little bit of a crisis. So let's talk a little bit about some just budgeting ideas, some thoughts around this time of year. Spending smart.
Yes, and... well, by now, if you have any money left.
It's the 23rd. You're right.
23rd. And of course, most people got paid already. So all of the shopping should have been done.
Right.
Now,
which I've done nothing yet.
What we normally say is to create a Christmas budget. You know, write down those things that you need to buy and watch your spending. You need to make sure that you don't go over your limits. And don't borrow to buy Christmas budget. In other words, don't throw it on your Christmas card, on your credit card. You want to have money saved to put aside out of your salary that you can spend on Christmas gifts. And that's important. We tend to say, flash the card and say, okay, I'll pay for it next year.
Right.
But like I said, for vacations, if you're going to pay for your vacation or your Christmas gifts next year, it's not really a vacation or Christmas gift. You know, it's like a loan you got to enjoy something before.
Right.
So we try to say, you know how much money you're going to make, put aside a piece of it for Christmas gifts. And you don't have to give expensive gifts every time. You know, you want to try and help or give everybody something. So you need to look at the amount that you're spending on each item so you don't go overboard. And people understand that times are hard. So if you don't give them 3 or 4 gifts or give them some very expensive, they understand that. It also doesn't put pressure on the other person to give you back something. Because, of course, if I get a nice watch for my Christmas, I'm expected to give maybe a bracelet. So therefore, if you look at a smaller item, a smaller price item, it can help. And it's about sharing love and joy and spending time. And we need to get away from having to give those big gifts. And think about spending time, be compassionate, be forgiving, put all the negativity aside and just be good and just be loving. That's what's important about Christmas.
Right. I think also giving some personal gifts, you know, like you said, give of time. Give of time is important. Personal gifts are good if you have a couple of children, you know, then you can kind of maybe give them time in between, go to lunch with, you know, here's my, you know, you give them a paper that says, you know, I have lunch with you on the first Saturday of the month or something. They would love that. So, you know, just to get an hour or 2 with mommy just by yourself or daddy just by yourself is such a gift. And it's so, you know, to start teaching our children that it's not just about stuff, not just about material, you know, not just about spending, but, you know, spending of ourselves, very important. Another thing I think you'll agree with, pay your bills, right? So you don't spend your bill money on Christmas gifts and then you didn't pay your light bill and now you have 2 bills in one. or you didn't pay your rent, or you didn't pay your mortgage.
Right.
Yes,
You need
that
to
happens a lot.
prioritize your expenses, and there's some that have to be paid or must be paid, otherwise it's going to be harder. If you miss that essential expense this month, it's going to be twice as hard to pay next month, and you can't catch up.
Yes.
So therefore, if it's okay, I'm going to miss my loan payment, I'll catch up next month. That never happens.
Right.
Before you know it, you're always 2 months behind.
Right.
And if you ever slip, you're 3 months behind, and you know who's coming to call.
Well, if you get 3 months behind, sometimes you're almost literally in a crisis.
You will never catch up. You
Yes.
have to look at some refinancing or some, regularizing. But it's hard to catch up 3 months. So
Yes.
try not to miss the first month. And that's what's important. So you might have to make a sacrifice to not buy something just to make sure that bill is paid, that light bill is paid.
Right.
Cutting off, having that cut off in January is not a good thing.
Yes.
And that happens sometimes. And so we need to just pay more attention to prioritize expenses. We don't have to buy all the gifts and do things that we don't need to do.
Right.
Let's take care of the important things. I guarantee you'll sleep better at night. It's it's a good a good feeling to know that your bills are paid.
So
Your
I
bills are
have a
paid.
great question.
Mm-hmm.
I know some of the banks are doing the skip, and you're a former banker, and so I
Yes.
I want to ask this. We'll be very sensitive with this
Mhm.
question.
It's okay.
You have that skip a payment, where
Yes. Mhm.
and in some instances, they don't ask you if you're
Yeah.
interested in it. It's just automatic,
Mhm.
and so you think sometimes, wow, that's a gift.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that? On that
And-
skip a mortgage payment, skip a payment.
And I'm an independent consultant, so I don't really have to, I can speak my mind on that.
Right.
Skip a payment is not the preferred route to go. At Christmas time, it helps people with giving them some more disposable income. That extra cash that you want to need, have not to pay your mortgage, can help. But you're actually pushing back the repayment date on that mortgage down the road, which
Okay.
you're going to be paying for it as well. When you go into a contract from 20 years, the plan is to finish in 20 years. And I remember those people who count down those years. When you have skip a payment, you're pushing it back more and more. And if you have to add on a loan to your mortgage to pay your insurance, you're just making that the repayment date further away. And so you have to consider that, okay, yes, I'm going to skip a payment in December, but what I'm doing, I'm pushing back my repayment date at the end. And you have to be very careful. You don't want to be having a mortgage and getting ready for retirement. And that has happened so many times.
Right.
So
It's happening
skip
a lot.
payment can affect how it works out down the road. So we all recommend that you don't do it if you can afford not to. It's some banks give a choice. You either take it or don't take it.
Right.
But we recommend that you do not take it if you can. But some people rely on that and understand times are hard, and so they have no choice. But it's not the best thing to do.
I have another question. So, I know in the U.S., you can get a 30-year mortgage, no matter how old you are.
Mhm.
You can get a 30-year mortgage
Yes.
at 20 or a 30-year mortgage at 50. Okay? Which makes it quite easy to repay, right?
Yes.
Because what happens here, I know that the older that you are, you only get, I think it's until you're 60. I think it's gone to 65.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter. I guess when you're 20 and 30,
Yes.
you get that 30-year mortgage. But when you're 50, for instance, you get 10 years or 15 years, which
Yes.
is a tougher. It's going to be like double
Yeah.
what it would have been. Do you think that it's a good idea? Because I'm only thinking about the 30-year mortgage,
Mhm.
no matter what in the States, and how anyone can purchase a house at any time.
Yes.
So things happen sometimes in life. You didn't get a house when you were in your 30s, or you had one, you lost it, and so now you're 50, which is
Yes.
still young.
Yes.
55 is still young.
Yes.
And you're now, you don't plan on retiring anytime soon because
Right.
you're young.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
right.
goodness. But yet it's hard now for you to get that home because of the stringent payment. Do you think that might be something that we could consider looking into, and might it be a good thing? And the reason I'm asking this is because At the end of the day, if you miss a payment, and I stand on this, if you miss your payments and whatever, and your house is foreclosed, it's gone. The bank has it. The bank has that asset. You can't put that in your purse and run away anywhere with it. So the bank is benefiting in the long run on interest and everything else. Do you think that might be something that we could think about looking at, because we're having some issues with foreclosures and all the rest of it?
Well, say applying for a mortgage at age 50. You have 15 years to, with the new law, 15 years to pay it off. And you can get a 15-year mortgage for a reasonable amount, depending on the money that you want to borrow or the size of the house that you want to own.
Right.
But on the other hand, and so there are two sides to this for me. Yes, there should be a possibility of getting a mortgage at age 50 for maybe 10 to 15 years. The payments will be high, but depending on the cost of the property, you might get a reasonable payment. But on the other hand, as a consultant or counselor, I recommend that you should be debt-free by age 55.
Okay.
And the reason is for this. As we get older, we have to understand that, yes, we may be able to work, but our ability to do the things we used to do before are being reduced. And so at 55, you want to start preparing for that retirement. And what we've known, that our pension funds and the total of pension funds will not take us to those days when we need it. So if you need to be saving money and to prepare for when you stop working, and you do need to have some cash to pay expenses, which may carry you past 78, 80, we need to understand that our pension is not enough. It may just last 7 years after retirement in some cases. Okay. So if you have a mortgage that you're paying up to age 65, it will, of course, be taking those funds that you need for that retirement. And that's the problem I have with that.
So it sounds like it promotes ownership, right? Because you're owning things earlier. But for instance, I had this experience it was about 10 years ago, that there was a property in the U.S. and it was refinanced. And so when it was refinanced, the refinance payback was $437, wherein before it was $800. But $437 for 30 years.
Yes.
So 10 years ago, then the person would have been 36. So they would have paid 30 years at 66, which is fine. But it's half of the amount, which was a comfortable amount to pay. Now, you realize by the time you finish paying for this property, you've already paid more than double, probably quadruple at that point, because it was cut in half and most of it was interest. But it being a comfortable amount to pay is what I'm thinking about. And then you talk about pension, your pension can cover it, because right now your pension can't cover a $1,200, $1,500 mortgage in any event. So it's almost like there's a catch-22. You know what I mean? It might work on one side, because it sounds like what you just said is ownership, definitely. Whereas on the other side, when will you ever own this property? Right?
I agree. And where we live is important. The U.S. have a lot of mechanisms.
Right.
We've heard of reverse mortgages where you don't pay anything. You just stay in your home, and eventually after you pass, it becomes government property. So you have those kind of things happening. And so in the jurisdiction that you live, it depends on what programs work and what don't work.
Right.
In the Cayman Islands, of course, you are able to borrow up to age 65.
Right.
And of course, depending on your level of income.
Right.
And what you can afford.
Right.
And what I'm knowing here is that because there's no safety net, we don't pay any income taxes and those kind of things. So we are wholly dependent on our savings and our pension to take us through after we've stopped working. And so that's important. And as you draw closer to those years, you start to think more about them.
Yeah.
And so therefore, if you have a mortgage to pay at age 65, you can understand the challenges. And owning a home,
of course,
has its expense as well.
Of course.
So if you have a home that you own outright, that's great. The upkeep and the maintenance is fine. But if you're also paying a mortgage on that home at age 65, you understand what's happening. Arthritis is kicking in. Things are winding down.
Yes.
And yes, you're up and about, but you don't have those energies as you used to. And having to go to work 5 days a week, 8.5 hours a day with all the stresses can be tough.
Right, definitely. And I think just everything you're saying points towards owning something and having a return on your investment. Because when I think about the 30 years, I mean, it makes sense for now, but in the long run, it's really not. And in the event that you say might have passed away or something, you're the people you leave probably have nothing. And so, if the government can take over or the state can take over those things, then all of your investment would have just gone to naught, type of thing,
Or what would happen is banks probably will have to sell the property, or maybe your family would step in and say, okay, well, I'll take over this mortgage and keep the home and the property.
Right.
But most times they end up selling it anyway.
Exactly.
So, you get a home at age 50, but if something happens to you in your older years, you end up losing it. So
right.
It's good to own something, but it's come back to planning.
Does it make sense? Yeah. Wow. Okay. See, that's how you put that in perspective. That's what I love about talking to you. Are you going to stay with me a few more minutes? Because we're going to take a break because I know you had to run. You're going to stay?
I'm going to stay.
Okay. So Ralph Lewis will be back. He'll be with us when we get back. We're going to take a quick break. You can join us too, 1-800-534-8255. If you have anything that you'd like to contribute, we'll be back with more. And welcome back to For the Record. Catherine Tyson. I'm actually sitting in for Mr. Connor this morning. And I'm sitting with Ralph Lewis of the Caymanian Times. And just happy to have you here with us this morning on the eve of Christmas, and advising everyone to shop smart and spend wisely.
That's right.
Yes, definitely. So that there is no crisis when the new year comes in, and we can come into that new year fresh and feeling ready. Budgeting is very, very important anyway, so that overall is a good thing for us. Now, we were going to talk a little bit about the elderly and some of the things that's going on with them, Ralph. Let's talk about that a little bit. You had some exciting stuff to tell us.
I think it's a good time for that as well, and we were ready to launch our new series. It's called Caring for Our Elderly. And this idea came to me a couple of weeks ago. I was invited to play music at the Pines for a Christmas party the Lions Club was hosting. And of course, it was a wake-up call, visiting the Pines and to see our elderly being taken care of. And what really hit me is that the nurses were so comfortable. They were happy, they're cheerful. It was like a normal job. But when I see what they had to do, it really hit home and said, Ralph, could you do this? And I said, I'm sorry, I can't. I want to think of a lot of people. It's hard to look after people at that age. But what is so important is that we will get there sometime.
Absolutely.
We have to get older, and if God spare our life, we will be 60 and 70 and 80. But we will need help at some point. And so therefore, it started me thinking, I need to write something about, or have some stories in a paper that talks about those hidden heroes that don't get talked about. And so therefore, in our first article on Caring for the Elderly, we're going to feature the Pines staff. And we were there with my writer yesterday, taking pictures, getting a tour of the Pines, and seeing the older people being taken care of. And if you see the job that the Pines are doing, I wouldn't give all the secrets out, but the story is going to be published next week, Wednesday. Right. And it's going to be cover stories called Caring for Our Elderly. But just to see that at some point in our life, we will need care. Right. And there's an institution that's prepared to do it. And they're individuals who give all their love, they're caring, they put all the troubles aside, no stress. I mean, it was Christmas time, but they were in there doing what they have to do to take care of those people, to make sure that they were comfortable in their final days.
Right.
And that was what's important to me. And so therefore, I think that is something that we should cover on a regular basis. Very,
very important. I know, it's very close to my heart, the elderly anyway, because, I was raised in my great grandmother's home, from her hands type of thing. She helped my mother tremendously with her little children, as was the custom in Cayman years ago anyway. Yes. We always knew our grandmothers, great-grandmothers that, took care of us, and we were raised in their yard. And my grandmother, she used to actually take care of the elderly, and my mother became a CNA, like
Yes.
probably a certified nursing assistant. This is probably like in the 90s or late 80s, early 90s.
Yes.
And so I've watched my mother care for the elderly for years. And when we were living in Miami, she left. When she came back home, she left a couple of patients for me to take care of. So I was actually working in a nursing home called B'nai Israel, and I had quite a few patients. My mother took such good care of them, and of course when I took care of them for the year, within that year they passed away. Now I don't want to say it was my care.
No, of course.
They were ready. But when my mom was like, really, I took care of them for 2 years and what happened. But it was such a great experience for me too, because you get to see, and I was very young at the time, in my 20s, and like I think not even 30 yet, but definitely in a time in my life where you don't normally think of your mortality.
Yeah, right.
But you get to see that, and
Yes.
the realization hits you that this will be you or could be you one day, and how you'd like to be cared for.
That's correct.
And I think you're absolutely right. That is on the mark, Ralph.
Yes.
And you know what I think about too are those caregivers that you need to feature also.
That's right.
Because they are working every day taking care of our people.
24/7.
Yes.
These people that were there and they allowed me to go into those areas, they need care 24/7.
They do.
And and I said, why? But of course, you never understand. They're still living human beings, and they have done their part. They've lived their lives. They've contributed to society, and so therefore, in their older years, they need to be given the comfort and the quality of life that is so important. And who's going to do it?
Right.
We are so busy with our regular jobs. We don't have time for it. And so to have people like that available, and those institutions that take care of those people, of our people, when they get older. And what hit home is, at some point, it's going to happen to me.
Yes.
Oh, you are everybody.
Right.
That's life.
If we're fortunate enough to have time, to have life on this earth.
And so it happens. And so therefore, I would love to know that, when my time comes, that there's somebody there to take care of me.
Yes.
And so therefore, I'm going to do my part to make sure that while there's people there, I'm going to see if I can encourage those people to continue, get more people involved, get more associations and more agencies involved in taking care of our elderly.
I think that is absolutely just so necessary because, as you say, we will get there. I think what happens is, you hear the cliches sayings like, we're standing on the shoulders of our ancestors, of our forefathers. We're standing on their backs. Absolutely. When I think about it, look at all that we've done for our children. Just if we can think right now, right? Look at when our children were small, which was yesterday, and they were toddlers, and then they were young people, and now they're young adults, and we're watching them. We're getting older. We're, kind of declining. And so they're almost now looking at us differently. My children take care of me now. My daughter was holding my hand in New York. I thought she was being sweet. She was like, you're going too slow. Come on, we're missing the train. So, it's just to see that. And you're right. We're still essentially young.
Yes.
But in 10 years.
It's amazing. And the thing is, for example, there's Alzheimer's. And it can start at an earlier age.
Right.
And there's some of us at my age, 56, who have those challenges.
Right.
And so therefore they have to be taken care of. And we're fairly young. One thing that really, really got my attention yesterday when I was having a tour is that they spoke about daycare. And I really couldn't understand what daycare was. And she said, you know what? Time have a way of repeating itself, but the other way. You remember when you were dropping off their kids to daycare?
Right.
Now the kids are dropping their parents to daycare.
Wow.
And they have the facility to drop them in the mornings.
That's great.
Pick them up at when they're going home.
That's
and
great.
It's available. They get 3 meals. They get attention. Instead of leaving your elderly home by themselves with a helper.
All alone.
All alone. Just being, they're now interacting with people at their age. They're not living there.
They have things to do.
And that's key.
Yes.
You have to have that attention. It's not just sitting there with somebody there to give you food when you want it, but to know that there's somebody talking to you, having a laugh and singing with you.
Activities.
That is so important. And that's what helps people live longer.
Stimulating
Exactly.
the mind. Sometimes they're doing crafts and stuff.
So
I think so. Well, they say once a man, twice a child.
Twice a child, yeah.
Yeah.
So the daycare was great, and I love that part of it.
I love it too. I didn't know they did that.
It's
good
amazing.
To know.
So it's good. It's good to know.
Know.
It's amazing. And those folks were just amazing as well. We have a nice picture of them surrounding three. I call them guests, but they're residents. But I think that they're just giving them, and they were so happy and joyful. And I know that the reason why they were in that frame of mind is because of the care that they were getting.
Of course.
And just imagine if all the older people got the same care. Oh my God. Your quality of life would be so much more enjoyable.
And they deserve it. They're worth it.
Of course.
They work to get us where we are, We're a product of them. Like every one of us are a product of some person. Whether that person is still on earth or they've passed on. Right. Another thing I was thinking about too is you were talking about just in that whole aging process. Hospice care also does a very good job with caring for the death and the death and dying and dying with dignity, and sometimes those people are elderly as well as any age, but it's just so important to just be humane and to take care of us at any stage of our life, because that's what life is about. It's about the stages, and each stage should be valued as much as one stage.
And we tend not to want to talk about this because it's not a nice, attractive, or sensational topic. But one of the things that when I decided I was going to start a newspaper is to talk about these things that people don't talk about.
Real
it's not about selling newspapers because it's about very exciting, sensational stuff to talk about.
Right.
I'm going to talk about those topics that people need to know about.
That's right.
And believe me, it will hit home at some point. We'll get the message at some point. And when time comes around, we'll sit and remember.
Well, thank you.
I remember the days, when we've read about this in the paper. It's happening to me now.
That's right.
Because it will happen. There's no doubt about it.
Being a community paper, I think, is a wonderful thing. And it's a wonderful thing to be able to open a paper and read about all things Cayman, and recognizing our elderly is very, very important, and making that connection. We have a caller on the line, so we'll go to the phones. Good morning, caller. You're on For the Record.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I really want to highlight something pertaining to your previous show on Wednesday with social issue that's affecting the island. And I just want to say, I think I was being misled by your panel and a caller appearance, stating that the collective responsibility of a child or children should rest on the government's shoulder. I can't see it through that, because if two adults decided to have sexual intercourse, which produces a child, therefore that responsibility must be for those two adults. It should not be all to the government to take care of that child. Those two adults should have collective responsibility. And I did not hear that from the person that was on the panel and from the particular person that is putting up himself as a political candidate. And I think that is sending a wrong signal to point out that the government should take full responsibility for a child. That's sending us a wrong signal. I think what they should have said to the public in all, to a growing adult, that once you engage in a sexual intercourse, there will always be a possibility that a pregnancy can occur. If the woman have option that she can use a lot of different methods to prevent that, and also the male can use a condom to prevent pregnancy. So I'm just highlighting that because I did not hear that coming from the person on the show, and also that person that putting up himself as a political candidate.
Okay, thank you so much for that call this morning. If it was this past Wednesday, it would have been me that was on the show with Dr. Frank. I don't remember that part of the conversation. I sure don't remember that we were discussing it as if it was the government responsibility. What I can tell you that possibly what was discussed, and I'm sorry you missed that, is not that it is not the collective responsibility of the two individuals, but that at the end of the day, if a child is not cared for properly or taken care of by these two collective responsibility people that are supposed to, the government steps in and the government will take control of that situation, because every child is, in the U.S. they would call it a ward of the state. Every child really belongs to the Cayman Islands. You will lose rights to your child if you do not take care of your child. And I think anyone listening to that show should have gotten that, because I know Dr. Frank personally, and I've worked with him over the years, and I know our discussion would not have been anything other than that. The parents are ultimately the responsible people. Just like we're talking about elderly right now, you should be taking care of your elderly. But if you're not taking care of your elderly, the government has to step in. The government is not going to allow the elderly to be abused or children to be abused or neglected. So you are absolutely right. The collective responsibility is for the two people who have made a decision, whether one way or the other, to bring a child into this world. And it would be nice. It's one of those would be nice things if they did the right thing. But if they do not do the right thing, the responsibility is on the government to ensure that every single citizen, especially children, are taken care of. And if they're not taken care of, then you will lose your rights to those children. I think that's very clear. So, that would have been our discussion about that. So, yes, you're absolutely right. But at the end of the day, the government has to take care of all citizens in this country. And that goes to talk about Ralph also. I'll bring you in on that it's the same when it comes to the elderly. Thank you so much for calling this morning, though, with those thoughts. But yeah, the collective responsibility does fall on the government to ensure that the elderly and children and the handicapped
don't fall through the cracks.
Don't fall through the cracks. They are cared for, whether you take responsibility for them or not. Because even in these days, a lot of people are not taking care of their elderly.
Right.
And the elderly are suffering. The ones that are not dropping them off to daycare, for instance, that they're not paying this money or whatever it is. And then what happens to the elderly? Should they just be left to suffer? No. Absolutely not.
And just recently, I think the government launched its policy towards all elderly people, older persons. And further in the new year, we'll be getting into those details. But you're right. I mean, we cannot allow them to fall through the cracks.
No.
And so, therefore, if their family don't have time or money to take care of these, someone has to step up and do it, because they deserve to be looked after. They're living beings.
Right. Absolutely. I mean, and that's and things like that. Those are very close to my heart, because that's my background. I've worked in I'm a former social worker. Yes. Always, my children said I'll always be a social worker. No matter what the fancy degrees say or whatever, that will always be my thing. And I think at the end of the day, we don't leave it up to the people that are supposed to do it. Being a single parent, I talk about the other parent. I say, yes, the other parent should take responsibility. Yes. The other parent should be involved. Mm-hmm. But at the end of the day, if the other parent isn't involved, I'm not going to spend time, and I advise single mothers, single fathers, I'm not going to spend time worrying about what the other parent should be doing. I'm going to do what I need to do. And the government is that larger parent then that says, okay, yes, those children have your DNA, but if you do not care for them, we take them. And they take them from you, and they are responsible to provide care for them.
That's correct.
And that's why it costs money for foster care and all the other things that the community, the government will then take responsibility for, because those children and the elderly, all the vulnerable people, are supposed to be taken care of. So...
And that's why there's so many organizations around the world that have stepped up and have actually contributed to make sure that these things happen. You hear people traveling overseas to other countries to make sure that these children are taken care of or elders are taken care of. And that's what humanity is about.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's what it's all. It's in our heart. So once we find it there, it will come out, and we'll do what we have to do.
Yeah. I remember it was so funny because I remember when I was a social worker, there were people, would go to court for different issues. Sometimes we'd have like care and protection issues, and we'd have parents out in front of the court. They're my children. And no, they are your children. But if you're not going to do what you're supposed to do,
yes,
the children are not going to school. The children are not being taken care of. They're not being fed properly. They're not being, they're out all hours of night by themselves. You can't come to court talking about they're my children. The court say, I'm sorry, but here are the guidelines for you to care for your children. And people couldn't wrap their minds around it. But it was one of those very bizarre things where you have to understand, yes, they're your children, but if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing, they're the government children. Because we're going to take care of them because we are a humane society.
Because we know what will happen if they're ignored. We know what will happen, and you don't want to take care of it after the fact.
Right.
And be proactive and make sure that you step in, and when you need to step in,
it's going to be a problem then.
That's a bigger problem.
A bigger problem, and everybody will be affected then.
That's
because
correct.
Everybody's affected by crime.
Right.
We're affected by, just any criminal activity. We're all affected by it.
Of course.
So, yes.
Yeah.
So that's it. So definitely it's one of those topics, that's it's real to everybody.
Yes, it touches every home. And just jumping back on the elderly, and there are other things or other services that are available to the elderly, but we're not sure about them. There's some institutions that you can get, for example, banks. Then I'm now seeing special lines
Me too.
for the elderly,
Very good.
which is great. There's some companies that have discounts for elderly. This kind of things that should be publicized on a regular basis. I want to encourage other institutions to start doing that.
Right.
It can help.
Right.
But there's some elderly people who don't want to be taken care of.
Right.
They want to take care of themselves, but they just can't afford it.
Some are still driving.
So
very
that's correct.
independent.
So, if we can give them care in a different form, is still care.
That's right.
And hopefully, if I reach the old age of 80, I might still be DJing.
You will be. I'm sure.
I might be having a walker.
Ralph still here, DJ Ralph still here.
Or I might have big glasses like I could.
Right.
But
see the numbers.
we still want to be active, but there are other areas where we can where we need assistance. For example, proper wheelchair access points, because not everyone can walk up the stairs. Those kind of things need to be put in place. So when we care for our elderly, it's a holistic view.
We think about
and
it.
we think about everything, not only being in the Pines, but also other things.
In the community, in society.
Even food, hygiene, the kind of food that we sell in the supermarkets should be catering for people who are elderly and who have maybe high blood pressure and diabetes. So they have a special section where, I have to watch my diet, but I really don't want to go to the doctor for them to tell me what to do.
Right.
So I might go to the supermarket and they'll tell me, okay, over here is the one where is low sugar.
Right. Right.
Low sodium. Those kind of things that we need to educate our elderly, and not only elderly, but the families of the elderly, so that they can have it around them, and they know of this. And those of us who get into that stage can prepare ourselves. Okay, well, these are the things that I'm gonna be available to me.
Right.
And so therefore, you can just ensure that they have good quality of life.
Right. And restaurant discounts and all of that stuff too. Yeah. Like just join those things, because they're very, very important. I remember thinking about my parents and wondering, when did they get old? Because now I'm saying things to them, and I lost my father a few months ago, and he was just early 70s, very young man still, but just recognizing that he had gotten older, and just thinking about that. So we're going to take the final break of the morning, but we'll be back with more. Please stay tuned. And welcome back to For the Record. Catherine Tyson. I'm actually sitting in for Mr. Connor this morning. And we have just a few more minutes left in the show. If you wanted to get your call in, the last show of the year, For the Record, For the Record of the year. So you want to call 1-800-534-8255, where Susan is waiting to answer that phone and say Merry Christmas to everybody. For the Record, we'll be back January 11th. So there will be a little break in between, because we know you're busy traveling and doing everything else. And Yes, and you have lots of shopping to do. I haven't done anything yet, so I'm going to try to take Ralph Lewis's advice, who's in the studio with me today, to make sure. Maybe I could make a little list before I go out there, because it might get hectic. And I start thinking about, I didn't buy anything. Well, I haven't bought nothing for nobody. It's a disgrace, really. I've gotten really bad over the years. I guess by the time you finish raising children, Ralph, spending so much money.
I know.
Everybody, my last one just finished university, and I'm still supporting her. She's a starving actress in New York, so so I'm feeding her still.
Well, what I look at when I look at spending, I look at it as an investment. And a couple of years ago, when we were talking to a friend of mine, and I'm like, okay, Ralph, are you gonna spend money on everything? I said, no, I'm investing.
Right.
So therefore, if I'm investing in everything, I have to make sure that there's a return.
Right.
A good return. So with the children, it's an investment.
It absolutely is.
Huge investment, but it will pay off.
Best way to put your money. I think
and you're going to
so.
make sure that it pays off, because you're going to make sure that they get the right care and the right schooling. But something I just wanted to mention that I'm lazy as well sometimes. I got
lazy and cheap.
Well, let's not say lazy. Let's say I have
said it.
I have good time management skills.
Okay.
And I don't have time to drive around the whole island shopping for gifts.
Okay. And you're cheap. So
what I do is I tell my kids, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you a couple of dollars.
Okay.
And I want you to start a savings account with it.
Okay.
So start a saving habit. If you want to spend it wisely. And make sure you keep some back. So get a nice card at the one.
And you put the money on the card.
And I put the money in the card and say, guys, that's a Christmas gift.
I was thinking about doing that this year too.
And I could budget how much I'm going to give each of them. And also the cards cost maybe $2 each. And so I have more time to sit down and have family dinner.
Right.
And say, guys, here's it under the Christmas tree.
Here are your cards.
So they got cash and they got advice to start saving. And actually, they've all taken it up. They have more saves than I do.
Okay. Wow.
And
did you borrow from them yet?
Yes.
That's funny.
But I promise to repay it.
Okay. Wink, wink. At some point, yeah. I have my children are saying who's gonna buy me the house first. I'm like, okay, it sounds like a good plan. But don't forget. Don't forget.
But kids are very resourceful, and they're smart. And once you feed them with the right information, it's amazing what they can do.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll go places, and they can develop discipline, and they can actually save. They can do things that I find difficult to do. I guess because they're young and they're now growing up and they're evolving. So at the end of the day, I'm in my hard and fast ways. So I might find it hard to change, but this sounds like a good idea.
Right.
Maybe I should try it.
Right.
And so therefore, you give them good advice, and it's amazing how it can really go far with them.
Yeah. Definitely. That's good.
So for Christmas, some good advice as well.
Yes. So you get out what you put in at the end of the day with your children.
That's correct.
So New Year's Eve is coming up. I'll just let the general public know. There's lots of things going on New Year's Eve. Of course, I think all churches are having their New Year's Eve watch service.
Watch night service.
Mm-hmm. And that's always good. There's lots of different venues. Of course, Cayman Bay will have their fireworks, and everything is free there. Okay. But you can go to one of the restaurants or something. So it's always exciting to do that. And of course, Monday then would be a public holiday. So January the 2nd is a public holiday. And there is Guy Penrod Live in Cayman. And that will be December 31st. And that starts at 7:30 in Lion Center. Yes. So that should be good too. So yeah, lots of things. And I'm sure that lots of house parties and everything else. So Christmas right around the corner. What are you doing for Christmas?
Sleep.
I know you're tired.
No, I work a lot, and I have to take time to rest, and it's my mind is always going 120 miles an hour.
Right.
So usually on Christmas Day, I try to get out of church, and then I come home and I sleep.
Okay.
I'm watching my weight as well, so I don't want those big Christmas dinners anymore.
Yes.
I'm okay with the one meal. And I'm all right. And I'll probably try and get some reading in.
Okay.
I don't read much.
So there's no exciting stuff at your house on Christmas for your children to come and have the
no
big
music,
festivities?
nothing.
No.
They can come by and get the Christmas gifts. I always give a little joke about Christmas gifts under the Christmas tree. Years ago we'd go to Miami and buy all these video games and wrap them up and then put them on the Christmas tree. And my son would rush down and open all the Christmas gifts on the Christmas tree. And by midday, he's played all the games.
And beat them all.
I'm like, it's not, Christmas Day hasn't even finished
day.
yet.
Yes.
And you finish the game. So, you realize what Christmas Day is all about for the kids. It's different for me. And for me now, it's more relaxing. Before I was playing a lot of music, but now I'm okay.
Okay.
It's a peace of mind and quiet. Oh, man. It's wonderful, isn't it?
Yeah.
The kids will come by and say hi, and all right.
Well, all roads lead to mommy. I have been, hypnotizing them with that since I started seeing them become 16, 17. Remember, you come to mommy at Christmas. Come to mommy.
Yes.
So all roads lead to me. So we're going to have so I have to cook on Christmas. Like no matter if I don't cook a whole lot anymore, but when it comes to Christmas, I have to cook. They have to eat mommy's food for some reason, and they're happy about that. So, and I love it. I love the whole madness in my house and everybody coming over, and then I'm looking at midnight, like, okay, when y'all leaving? Come on, it's time now to go get some sleep so I can clean up the next day. But and it's been great because my family and friends will come over and they'll start helping me to clean before they leave. So that's good also.
That's good. I mean, Christmas is time for family.
Yes.
And I do hope it continues that way. For those of you who don't have family members here, they're still family. I mean, not with blood relatives, but I'm sure you know somebody.
Right.
And the Caymanian people are very welcoming. And they will invite you to their home to have lunch and
you
dinner.
can stop in.
So, which is good. And so I want to make sure that everybody's happy. Let's forget about the commercial aspect of Christmas for a change. I know the business owners need to make some money, yes, but after all it's said and done, we have to live tomorrow.
Right, for sure.
And next year should be around the corner. So
you bet.
We could give it a break. For a couple of days.
I have some little traditions. So I have like Christmas vacation, the National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. Have you ever seen that?
Yes, I have.
It is hilarious. So we watch that every Christmas, and so we put that on at some point, and it's a wonderful life. So I'm pulling out all of my things, and they indulge me now because I'm getting older. So they'll come in, and my daughter said the other day, well, we know we have to do the Mariah Carey marathon. So apparently I didn't realize that they knew that's what was happening too. So I put her on the first. She has this Christmas album for maybe 20 years ago, and I put that on from Christmas morning, and we start singing along, and get it going while I'm cooking in the kitchen, and
that's nice.
It's very nice, very nice. And it comes once a year, so we try to enjoy it, and just the the love of your family and being surrounded by people that, care about you all year round. It's not just that one day. That's important to me. Not necessarily being involved with and in everybody, but these people that have been there with me the whole year, just to round that year off. That's what's important.
Perfect. It's amazing.
Yes. Very, very important.
And as we say, at the end of the day, all you have is family. And it's so important.
Exactly. That is all you
cherish
have.
them, love them, just have a good time.
What's one of your Christmas memories? Something significant that you remember? Anything about your parents, maybe? Because you're from Montserrat.
I'm from
originally.
Montserrat. Yes. Christmas in Montserrat is a
small place.
Christmas in Montserrat, very small. Right now we have 5,000 people living there.
Oh my!
Not much people, but it was about 12,000 in its heyday before the volcano.
Okay.
It's about the same square mileage and as the Cayman Islands, but very mountainous. Very mountainous. The highest point is 3,000 feet.
You have a friend that lives there, right?
Yes, I have. Actually, my brother moved back there.
I have a friend that lives there.
Yeah.
Ironically, yes.
Yes.
I don't know if they're from there. I think her father's Golden. The last name is Golden. So I don't know if they're actually from there, but yeah.
It's a unique place, and I'm gonna go back and spend some time, in the future. But at Christmas time, it's our carnival.
Okay.
That's our carnival.
Nice.
Christmas time. So for the whole month of December, there's all these competitions, district competitions, the queen competitions, the street dancing, the parades, all the, costumes. the Soca Monarchs, everything. That's what's happening in Christmas in Montserrat.
Wow.
So
that's nice.
My favorite memories is New Year's Day. You know, everybody comes into town and we have all these parades, all these costumes, just like a Batabano parade.
Really?
And that's what happens on New Year's Day.
Oh, how nice!
And it's but also you could go from house to house and you're always eating and drinking your sorrel drink and your ginger beer. And I remember sitting home and my mom would cook all this food and like, Mommy, what's all this food for? You'll see. And every 10 minutes a knock on the door. And I said, food's going to finish before lunchtime.
You're worried.
But the next knock was the neighbor bringing her pot of food over.
Oh, my. That's
so
nice.
Everyone just either brought food or came and ate. And the whole district and the whole village was just one happy family at Christmas time.
That's nice.
And then we have what's called masquerade dances. And it was very scary where they dress up in these outfits and they dance in the street beating these drums. And it was, it's very, a lot of culture in that.
Very nice.
So those are my favorite memories of Christmas.
Growing up
back home.
Well, I have one of my most, I think, things that I will remember for a long time. I remember going to Truth for Youth school as a young girl, and we'd always have like Christmas concerts and stuff. And I remember I went and got my hair hot combed those days,
Yes.
and running from, it was straight and nice, and running from the woman's house all the way to my grandmother. By the time I got there, it was an afro because the sweat, if it gets wet, it sweats it out. And I remember just being so excited about that. But there is another memory that the newspaper had come to Truth for Youth school and taken pictures of some of us and say, what's your Christmas wish? And my Christmas wish that to get a walking, talking doll. And my mom lived in New York at the time. She had moved to New York. And Sister Hope, she actually cut out the newspaper clipping and sent it to my mother. And my mother was so brokenhearted because my picture was in the paper, but my hair was not combed. It was it must have been after recess and my hair was flying. Wow. And she was so hurt. She was like, look at my baby, it came on. And she actually came home that year. She came home and she brought me a walking, talking doll. And I'll never forget this doll because it was almost as tall as I was. It was the cutest thing. I just remember that. And my mother was like, why did they put my baby in the newspaper and her hair is not combed? And she just felt so bad that she was away from me. But I got to get her home and she brought me this walking, talking doll. So I'll always remember that. Very funny though. Yeah. So that's what Christmas is about. Yeah.
Okay, great. How much time do we have left?
Well, we wrapped up now, and want to tell you thank you so much for coming on this morning with me, Ralph, and giving some great advice. And also we look forward to what you'll be doing next year with the Caymanian Times and the elderly especially. Yes. So Wednesdays and Fridays, you can pick up a copy. Yes. Okay, great. And you'll be busy doing that.
I have a surprise for you and for your listeners. You know that sometimes I do karaoke.
Oh,
so it's Christmas. So can I sing a few lines of my favorite Christmas song?
Okay, let's hear it. This is a treat.
I don't have any. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
All right. Yay. Should I sing my favorite then? Thank you so much, Ralph. And my favorite is Chestnuts Roasting, the Christmas song.
Yes.
From Nat King Cole. So just Google that. I usually just give that to my family. Thank you so much, Ralph, for joining us this morning on For the Record. And listeners, you have until January the 11th before For the Record will be back. So make sure that you tune in. Have a safe and happy holiday season with your family. Enjoy yourself, but be safe. Arrive safe into 2017. We want to get there with all of you. We all want to get there together. Okay, so have fun, but drink responsibly and just love each other. Just take care of each other. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. This is Catherine Tyson sitting in for Mr. Connor, and happy holidays to Mr. Connor and the rest of the Radio Cayman family. I want to wish you from me and mine to you and yours, as well as the GIS cameramen who come in week after week and they film us. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year to the Cayman public as well. Thank you all so much for having me. I've enjoyed myself, and I'll see you next year sometime. Susan, happy holidays to you too. Take care. Have a great morning.
Informative, impartial, insightful.
This is your talk show.
1-800-534-8255. Your calls, your input. This is For the Record.